You're probably wondering what the heck you just stumbled across. Well, welcome to Date Dishes TV. I'm your host, Larson Wilkes, and for the last 17 years, I have been an executive chef and owner of 5 different upscale restaurants and bars. And let me tell you something, I'm about to get real on you. In today's relationship and online dating world, being romantic, and especially romantic cooking at home, is almost a thing of the past. I created Date Dishes to help give you the edge to present yourself in a unique, confident, and desirable way. There's a bazillion people out there. What makes you different, and how can you showcase your personality, your sense of humor, and your skills in the kitchen? So how do we accomplish this? Well, I tell you what, through this series, I'm gonna teach you some amazing appetizers, some unbelievable entrees and desserts that I tell you what, if you execute them the way I show you, and you can't close the deal at home, something is wrong with you, big time. So let's get started with one of my all-time favorite dishes. The 17 years that I've had my places open, this has been by far the #1 selling and the most highly reviewed dish that I'd ever had. What is it? It's a Chilean blue mussels with a white wine, fennel, and chili broth. It's got some toasted baguette bread to dip up that sauce. It's absolutely amazing. So when I say mussels, don't be intimidated. Normally when people speak negatively about mussels, it's normally about what are called New Zealand green-lipped mussels. Take that out of your mind. We're not even gonna screw with those tonight. Chilean blue mussels are much more readily available at your grocery store. Typically you're gonna find them frozen, which means you're gonna have a little bit more consistency to them. You're not gonna be so concerned as a new person in the kitchen about which ones may or may not be okay to include in the dish. And I tell you what, I'm gonna show you how amazingly simple it is. It's gonna be perfect for a first date or an introduction for a guy, girl, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're married. Maybe you just wanna show your wife something unique and fun when she comes home from work. Have a bottle of wine ready to go and do something special for her. Whatever the case is, we're gonna show you how to do it in this series. Now, every week we're gonna come at you with something different, but we're gonna go another step above and beyond just the cooking. Because let's face it, that's only part of the night. You wanna be able to have conversation, you wanna have a sense of humor. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cameras to downtown Austin and to downtown San Antonio, and we're gonna be interviewing ladies and fellas of a number of different ages to get their input as to what they think is confident and sexy about the opposite sex. And of course, we're gonna share that with you, duh. So I tell you what, how about we get started real quick, get ourselves into the kitchen and make this thing happen. And I've got one more thing to share with you as well. Before we get started, you're gonna need to make a little bit of my magic blend. Now I know, it sounds a little corny, right? But it's not. What you're gonna wanna do, see it on your screen right now, make sure you have your ingredients and make sure you have plenty of it because we're gonna use it in a lot of our cooking. So how about we go ahead and step on into the kitchen and get this thing going right here on Date Dishes TV. So here we are, we've moved into the kitchen and now it is your time to shine. I mean, this is where the magic starts right here. It gives you a great opportunity, start a good conversation, really get to know your guest. So, as any man has learned, or woman, what helps to start a conversation but some wine? So let's get this started right away. And the reason being, let's just be honest here. If you have a couple glasses of wine, things might move along a little bit faster than what you want in terms of being able to have a communication or not feeling so nervous about a night. So go ahead and pop that. But I tell you what, don't have it open before your guest arrives. In fact, do it with them. It gives you a great opportunity to ask them their opinions about wine, maybe what they like, what they don't like, maybe explain why you chose what you did for tonight's dish. I've just got a simple Chardonnay, but I'm also gonna use some of that in the actual mussels dish itself. So I'm actually gonna show some spontaneity by having the bottle right there handy, kind of throw it in. So here's what we're gonna do to get started. I've got some simple ingredients, and of course I told you earlier how elegantly simple this dish is, and I'm gonna show you how to execute it right now. So I have my 1 pound of blue mussels. I've got my magic seasoning, which of course we went over earlier. I've got some sriracha sauce, which unless you've lived on another planet, you pretty much know what that is. And I've got some fresh garlic and some fennel. And let me touch on that just real quick. Most of you probably don't even know what fennel is. You're gonna find it in your grocery store, typically by the cabbages, maybe the celery area. Basically, it's gonna look like this. You can use the bulb portion for different purposes than we are tonight, or the leaves for what we're gonna use for the dish right here. So we're gonna have about a tablespoon of the fennel leaves, and I have some fresh French bread from the bakery at my grocery store. So let's get this sucker started. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the garlic into my pan. Okay, as you can see, we're gonna let that saute for just a second. Give that a quick whisk, spatula, tongs, whatever you may have. We're gonna want that to brown just a hair. Okay, this has also got 1 tablespoon of my magic seasoning in it. Okay, now to this we're gonna add our fennel. Now I've got the fennel leaves and I'm gonna give those a real nice fine chop. We don't want big chunks of the fennel leaves, and make sure you don't get any of the stems in the dish either, okay? So let's get this into our pan. Okay, we're gonna want this to reduce down for just a second with the wine in just a moment, but I want that fennel to release its oils. So meanwhile, I'm gonna be grabbing my bottle of wine and putting in 1/4 cup of wine, okay? Now to this, we're gonna let that reduce for about 20 seconds, but meanwhile, that sriracha is gonna hop in. And we're gonna do a good teaspoon or so, unless you want it to be a little bit spicier. And that's a great thing to ask your guest. It also helps you to understand maybe their personality a little bit. If they wanted the spicier food, or if you wanted to go a little mild, that's where you'd make your decision on how much sriracha to put in. We're gonna use our 1 pound of mussels. If you notice here, I left the juice from the package because it's gonna add some additional moisture to the dish and a lot of flavor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cover this for 4 minutes. So here we are 2 minutes in. You can start to see the mussels actually opening up as well. Just get all that broth to circulate all around and get into the meat. It's gonna keep steaming. We're gonna close that up again for 2 more minutes. Now meanwhile, this is where you need to get your toasted French bread started. Now this is a key part of the dish because you need something to dip up all of that, or soak up all of that delicious fennel broth. So what I've got is 4 slices, which would be ideal for 2 people. Obviously you don't need to be too full on bread from the very beginning. So in this pan, I have about a tablespoon of my Land O'Lakes sweet cream butter. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get both sides just a little bit of butter. And then we're gonna kind of pan roast these just to toast them off. But while they're in the pan, I'm actually gonna put a little bit of that magic seasoning on them. And I don't need to do both sides. This will be the serving size when I get to it. Now while we're toasting our French bread, now is a great time to make sure you have a nice dish to present it in. Now here is where you can have a little bit of fun. Now instead of putting it in 2 separate bowls, do 1. What it does is it brings you guys together, kind of starts a little bit of flirting, if you know what I mean. You can use your fingers a little bit, get a little bit dirty, if you know what I'm saying. So as long as you've got a couple forks, 1 bowl, let's just keep it simple at that, but then you can present it, even if it's here in the kitchen while you're working on your main entree, you can sit there and talk and goof off and tell jokes and have fun, nibbling on something, all while making sure that everything is feeling very comfortable between the 2 of you. So if you notice over here, I'm finishing up the toasted bread, okay? And this only takes about a minute and a half or so on the toasted side, okay? And now we're gonna finish up the mussels, so we're gonna add our cream. Okay, and we don't need much, just about half of a pint is actually gonna work just fine. We can leave the top off at this point because we're gonna want this to simmer. So we're gonna get that back onto a little bit higher heat. High medium heat is all we're gonna need. Notice the beautiful color All of our mussels are opened up, beautiful meat on the inside. And if you take a look right here, I've got this amazing toasted French bread now. The little butter and the seasoning in there is just perfect. Okay, now I don't want to overdo it. I don't want this to be super crunchy, just a nice golden brown, which it is, so we're going to go ahead and get the heat off of that. Now at this point, you don't want to boil the cream, okay? I'm not going to go into exactly why, but just trust me, you don't want it boiling. Just a light simmer. As soon as it starts to bubble, get the heat off of that, and this dish is done. It's end of story, and it's time to eat. So let's go ahead and serve them up. We've got a beautiful dish here, as we stated before. Now, I like to have a little bit of fresh herbs on hand pretty much anytime I'm cooking, regardless. I've always got something in my house. But let's go ahead and take our French bread. We're going to do a nice look here. Maybe some fresh rosemary just to kind of bring it out a little bit. And there you go, an absolutely gorgeous Chilean blue mussel dish with a white wine, chili, and fennel broth. Absolutely fantastic to get your night started. Thank you guys for being here with us tonight. We wish you all the luck in your future dates. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can see all the new videos that we're going to post right here on Date Dishes TV.